we have the enemy. He's always warring against us, right? He comes, he tries to distract us, and he tries to drive us into despair. He tries to drive us into mad because of our thoughts, right? We're going crazy, can't focus. So instead of sitting there and being a victim, turn it around. Turn it around on him and say, I'm going to use your machinations against me for my own benefit. And then he talks about a story here. I think I've actually skipped one or two things that I wanted because I couldn't put everything on the screen. So, yeah, they were actually right here. So he says, we must not be surprised, especially during prayer, that the enemy does not rest. Actually, we need to exploit his activity by making him an unpaid laborer who actually prods us to persist in unceasing prayer. So he's coming and he's bothering you. And if he sees that actually this drives you further to prayer again and again and again, and you don't give up, this is the key, faithful to the end, you don't give up, what's going to happen? He's going to say, well, this isn't working. With my temptations, my machinations, my bothersome presence, all it does is make him pray even more. And he knows very well that the prayer that really counts is the prayer that's offered when we don't want to pray, when we're tired, when we're distracted, and we persist. That is expression of love for Christ, and therefore it is beneficial. And the enemy knows that. So no matter how and what fruits you have, that's really in God's hands for the most part. What he sends you, right, in his great and inscrutable wisdom. The struggle is in our hands. We have to constantly struggle, and that in and of itself is an expression of our love for God. So don't ever think, well, it's just nothing's coming of it. No, just keep going and keep loving. So the elder was far more concerned about this stance, this way of being and praying than he is with the technical, techniques that have been developed by the Hesychists over the 2,000-year history of the church, especially talked about during the Hesychist controversy in the 14th century. Those things are secondary. Of course, he'll use them if they're helpful to concentrate. But what's really important here is that we are standing with compunction and contrition. He says something here that's very profitable, and I didn't put in, it's a bit long. He says, before counting knots on our prayer robes, in other words, how many prayers we're going to do, 300,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever it is, right? We should instead count our innumerable sins and read a patristic text in order to attain awareness, self-awareness, mindfulness, thus escaping from mundane things. So Elder Sophrony also talks about this, that before you start your prayer rule, and of course he's talking about the monks getting up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m, whatever, 5 a.m. for us, 4 a.m, whatever it is, and we're getting up to say the prayer, we should begin with a patristic text, which is going to be a life of a saint, but also a text that brings us to compunction and contrition, a patristic text about the spiritual life, path to salvation, or the writings of somebody like St. Paisios and whatever it might be that we're reading. Bring us to that. Get us out of the day-to-day. Oh, I've got to go shopping today. Oh, I've got to do this today. All right, we got to get away from that and elevate our mind to things divine. And he says that you escape the mundane things. You focus only on the words of the prayer. That we should also ignore all of our musings without exception. And this is something we don't do very well. I certainly struggle the most. I'm sure I'm the worst. And that is, I'm constantly musing about, well, what am I going to do for the team? What am I going to do in the fall for the conference? What am I going to do about these books that we need to get published? And it never ends, right? And that's I make the good work that we're trying to do the enemy of my own salvation and my spiritual benefit. Stop. Put it aside. Don't think it's not time for that. And I'm very, unfortunately, the worst. I'm the worst. The personal ones, the impassioned ones, the demonic ones, these musings, right? So you got the personal, the impassioned thoughts, the demonic ones, those from the left, those from the right. The left of the fleshly, worldly. The right is super correct. I'm the best, the Pharisee. All right. Put the good ones even on the side. The blasphemous ones, of course, but even the good ones, even the good thoughts, put them aside, he says. All right. And come to stand with compunction and contrition and pray and focus on the words of the prayer. There's a story he talks about. There was a spiritual struggler who, when lying down to sleep, would be besieged by demons that gave him unclean thoughts. All right. So he's a monk. He's in his cell. It's time to go to bed. And immediately, the minute he puts his head on the pillow or whatever he's using as a pillow, here come all the unclean thoughts. And then you know what he did? He got up. Thank you, devil. Thank you, demon, for reminding me that I need to pray. And he would get up and he would do many prostrations. And what would happen? 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 50, whatever. Eventually, the demon stopped doing that. And he was given peace, at least from that struggle. So the elder placed great importance on the the healthy, proper conscience, having a clear and clean conscience. Obviously, that means that the one who's going to make progress in prayer is going to be going to confession. He's going to have a spiritual father. He's going to go often. He's going to write the best thing for all of our beginners out there, for everybody, really. We're all beginners. We're all like catechumens, as Father Stephanos Anastopoulos told me years ago. We're all like catechumens today. So we're all beginners. Very important that you are constantly writing down your sinful thoughts, sinful desires, and omissions, and you're keeping a track of it so that when you go to confession, you're not going and thinking, what did I do this whole month or two or whatever it is since the last time I went to confession. The success of your confession, and therefore your conscience's purity and peace, is going to depend on your mindfulness of your own sins and writing them down and then bringing them as a package. Now, here is who I am. Father, this is who I am. I see that I have done this sin 40 times since I saw you last. I've done this 12. I've constantly in judging. I'm constantly angry. I'm constantly yelling. I'm constantly lazy. I'm slothful. I'm this. I'm that. You don't know how many people go through their life. They don't even recognize their sinfulness. They have no idea that they have these passions. They're not paying attention to the inner life. This is so important. If we're going to say the Jesus prayer and we're going to make progress, you've got to take care of these things, get them in order, put them down, have mindfulness, and eventually make progress in putting them behind you so that the life and the prayer go together. This is one of the main messages. The life and the prayer have to go together if we're going to actually be able to say the prayer. It's not a mechanical thing. It's not just your desire. It's not just the words. It's not externals. You've got to have a consonant life with the prayer to make progress.